What is the best entry-level hunting rifle for under 500 bucks? Folks, today we're here to talk about good rifles that cost less than 500 bucks. And there aren't very many of them anymore. There are a few, I'm not going to name them all, but there are only one or two that I think really perform like the rifle you want to be carrying into the backcountry, right? Now, the one I have in front of me is a Mossberg Patriot. The specific model is called the Predator. This is the very fundamental base model. It's got an injection molded polymer stock, matte finish, blued barrel and action. It does have a couple nice features, such as the LBA trigger, user adjustable, very good crisp trigger. It's got a scope rail on top of the action and so forth. Threaded muzzle, fluted barrel. It's a pretty nice package for under 500 bucks. Now, if you go to Mossberg's website, you will see that it lists suggested retail, full retail is $553 for the 6.5 PRC version, which this one is. Remember, suggested retail is not real world pricing. I found these in 6.5 PRC on Gunbroker for as little as $420, and I actually found one there, brand new, for sale at $389. So that's actually sub $400. Now, I like the 6.5 millimeter versions of this rifle and the 308 version better than the bigger stuff, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. First, let's talk about what cartridges the Patriot Predator comes in. There are seven different choices. Let's see if I can move this enough to get to my notes here. You can get it in 6.5 Creedmoor, like I already mentioned, 6.5 PRC, like this rifle is, $22,250 for the coyote hunters among you, 243 Winchester, that's another nice crossover Predator and deer cartridge, 308 Winchester, 7mm PRC, and the 450 Bushmaster. Now, over the years, I've had the opportunity to test a lot of different Mossberg rifles, and I've appreciated every single one of them. Foremost, they've all worked. They've worked great. You can see there's nothing in this one, right? So I'm going to close the action so you can see what it looks like with that shut. And this is the sad thing about so-called budget rifles. Let's call them sub $500 rifles. A lot of times they don't feed reliably, and the magazines in particular can cause issues. These Predators use a polymer magazine. They're tough. Think Glock frame material, right? They're a double stack magazine. They're super easy to load, and I've never had one fail to feed well. That's a big deal to me. In a hunting rifle, reliability comes first. Next is accuracy, and then ergonomics, fit and finish, and all those other good things. The Mossbergs have reliability, where a lot of the others in their price range, let's call it that $300 to $500 price range, don't. How about accuracy? Because that's a very important characteristic of a rifle, especially if you're trying to save money and spend as little as possible, but still get adequate or even really good accuracy, right? So when you're putting a rifle together, especially in today's world of challenging supply chains and inflation and so forth, when you're trying to build that rifle for a cost that will go off dealers' shelves at less than 500 bucks, it's hard. Components are hard to get that fit into that price category. So naturally, you'd expect that a rifle in that sort of family of dollar stacks, right, your big pile of greenbacks, isn't going to shoot like a really good custom rifle. And you'd be right. However, surprisingly, if you choose wisely, you can get a rifle that'll shoot darn near as well or just as well as a $1,000 to $1,500 rifle. Part of that is choosing your cartridge wisely. And in full disclosure, the Mossbergs that I've used myself that have been in the bigger, heavier, especially the Magnum cartridges, don't shoot great. They shoot adequately, certainly. I killed a nice 6-point bull with a 300 Winchester Magnum Mossberg, at 376 yards, if memory serves. Hit him twice right through the sweet spot, dead right there. But that was just about at the outside limit of my ethical capability because that was a 2-inch gun. It did not group real tight. What I've found is that Mossberg's built in the 6.5s and in 308 all tend to shoot under an inch. My experience, right? There may be others out there that have had other experiences, but I haven't met one yet that didn't. So I've been real impressed with those. Why is that? You know, I had somebody in a big rifle company once tell me that within these big production companies, there are barrel diameters that, for whatever reason, just seem to shoot better than others. And sometimes I think it might be the machinery they're using, the tooling that they're using to ream and rifle that specific bore diameter. Whatever the case is, there's something behind it. There's also the cartridge dynamic factor. So if you shoot a big magnum through a rifle action, that action has to contain a bigger amount of vibration and action distortion. If you're not aware of this, rifle actions actually flex as they fire, and the smaller cartridges cause less flexing. Makes sense, right? So something in a 6.5 millimeter, either a Creedmoor or a PRC, is going to be a lot friendlier, have a tamer action dynamic as that rifle fires. Same thing goes for the 308, which of course is known for accuracy. It's not a big high-octane cartridge. So I guess in my mind, that's how I've kind of explained why those cartridge families have done so well for me. I suspect the 243, 22, 250, and so forth would do very well as well. I do have a friend, Colton Heward, fellow writer, that took one of these in 7mm PRC to Africa, and if I remember right, he said it shot pretty well, 1.25-ish, but he said it kicked real hard. Why? Well, these are pretty light rifles. When you're shooting a big Magnum cartridge, they're going to kick. Standard weight of the 6.5 PRC version is 6.5 pounds. Kind of easy to remember. 6.5 weighs 6.5, right? They come with a 24-inch fluted barrel. As mentioned, a nice threaded muzzle. You can spin that knurled thread protector off and stick a suppressor on there if you're lucky enough to own one. 24 inches in the 6.5 PRC, 22 inches in the 6.5 Creedmoor, and I believe the 308. What else is really notable about this rifle? Well, they have a pretty nice Picatinny rail on top of the action for those of you that like to mount a scope in cross-slot type bases. And that's what I did on this rifle for my recent Coues deer hunt in Mexico, where I shot this real cool, heavy, mature, old Coues whitetail buck at not quite 380 yards, one and done. Beautiful performance out of the rifle and cartridge. I was using Hornady's match ammo loaded with 147 grain ELD match bullets. I don't shoot target bullets at game very often, but for these little 90 to 100 pound deer, they're awesome. They expand real quickly, that ELD match does, and they give you the precision and the wind bucking ability that you may need to reach across a canyon, like I did, and put your bullet in the sweet spot on a little Coues, little bodied Coues whitetail deer. I mounted, because I kind of was limited on time, I just mounted my scope right on top of this rail. However, just to get a little better cheek weld, if you want to, you can take that rail off and mount your scope in something like Tally lightweight alloy rings. They're a combination one-piece base and ring, so you just screw it, the bottom half of the ring screws right onto the top of the action, put your scope in, put your ring tops on, and you get that scope nice and close to your action so you get a good cheek weld. The action itself is not super duper smooth. It's not going to be smooth like a Browning X-Bolt or a Tikka or something like that, but it costs half, right? And they feed very well. Just a good non-glare matte finish. There's a release button on the left side of the action so you can remove that bolt. And it's just a good dual lug fluted type of bolt. The safety is a rocker type safety, familiar to everybody that's been hunting with Remington Model 700s for decades, right? The stock itself, as mentioned earlier, is injection molded polymer. It's the least expensive way to build a good serviceable stock. To benefit this rifle's accuracy, the forend is nicely free floated around the barrel. That's a big deal. And there's actually a reasonable amount of rigidity in there. I can't just pinch that stock up far enough to contact the barrel, and I have to work hard pushing it from the side. That means when you put it on a bipod and you go prone with it, and you're maybe putting a little bit of pressure on that rifle depending on how awkward a field shooting position you're in, you're probably still not going to cause contact against the barrel, between the forend and the barrel, that will throw your shot off, right? So all in all, really, really good, solid rifle. Nice, soft recoil pad. Not that the 6.5s or the 308 are going to kick much. Reliable action. Accurate barrel, fluted, ready for your suppressor, detachable box magazine that loads easily and feeds reliably, a good adjustable trigger system that's really nice and crisp. This one's about 3 to 3.5 pounds as shipped from the factory. I believe you can adjust them from about 2 to 7 pounds. And all this for less than $500. If you shop a little bit, you get it down close to $400. And that, my friends, is a lot of rifle for the money.